Here I am, in the place to be. Mr. K&B, you can't fuck with me. Extra sexy, extraordinary. Palms are hairy, your mama pop.
Nope. We should. Almost there. Oh.
You just like pot. And...
I know.
Oh.
What?
No, I was gonna bring up a really depressing thing and we'll save that for, because it has nothing to do with these movies. Although technically DC and Warner Brothers are attached, but
okay.
It has something to do with something that I just thought that we had no reaction to a long time ago. We never did a Matrix. Did we do a Matrix Resurrection?
Yeah,
we did.
Yeah.
Did we not talk about how fucked up it was? All those people killed themselves.
I think so.
I don't think we did.
I think we did.
I really don't think we did.
I think we did. I don't know. Maybe you can go back and watch it and tell us.
That came, like, I was thinking about it on my way home about like the more recent idea of depression and suicide being a larger like hot button topic and things like that. And you just have people down the street just chucking themselves out of windows. It's like, that's actually really insensitive now that I think about that.
It's kind of weird that you brought up the Matrix Resurrections because the wife was scrolling through the apps. And she pulls up HBO Max. Now it's back on HBO Max. And she goes, oh, hey, look, the Matrix Resurrections. Maybe you and Doug can finally watch it. And I was like, me and Doug already watched it. She goes, oh, yeah, you spent money on it. And I was like, well, technically, I'm still spending money on it if I'm paying the subscription for HBO Max. So,
yeah. Although, did you spend money on it?
I
was like, I thought I spent money on that, not you.
That was the other justification. Yeah. I was like, he's the one that spent money on it. I didn't. Yeah. Because did we do it as a double feature? No. That was Free Guy and Jungle Cruise. Yes, the Matrix Resurrections.
Yeah.
Okay.
What was the other movie that I refused to pay for? Like, we went to it and I used my tickets because I refused to pay real money for it.
Was it in Dumbledore?
No.
Morbius.
Right.
Morbius. It was Morbius. You're like, I am not spending. You even told the person, I am not spending real money on this. Yeah. Here's these passes.
Sorry, we just spent the first 2 minutes of this discussing.
It's fine.
Nothing.
This is gonna be a new format for the Sexy Ninja Cast. I'm gonna have my best friend on here as much as possible because I feel like we have better conversations.
Where's Phil?
We have conversations with each other about movies and stuff like that, and we created this idea from last week's podcast, didn't we? Though
we did. And... Well, no, sorry, that just go on. I can't even right now. My brain is all over the place. You said we had this idea, and the first thing that came to my mind was that line from the Avengers. When Nick Fury's talking about...
There was an idea. And this was it. So...
Speaking of superhero movies.
Yeah, superhero movies. I'm KB the Sexy Ninja.
I'm Doug.
This is fueled. This is power. This is granted by the power of Thor and all that stuff by crazyhoodies.com with a Z. Welcome to the Sexy Ninja Cast. I'm changing up the format. It was broken up in 3 parts. But I got kind of lonely and I wanted to talk to somebody. And then we sparked an idea last week with what I have in my hands. And it was an idea of this week we're talking about DC specifically when it comes to movies. And the idea came from what if, just for example, I know he's Marvel, Kevin Feige was fired. Thrown away. So guess who they hire? Us. And we had to decide the fate of the Marvel Universe and where it's going and this and that. And me and you start spewing off directors. And then it did I would say it wouldn't started like that. I would say
you're right, but you just gave me the realization, which we already knew before, but like Kevin Feige is a really big part of why the MCU is so successful. Where
we're gonna just
DC doesn't really have a Kevin Feige.
That's why I couldn't think of anybody. I was like, Jeff Johns, not really. Like he's always like an executive producer or attached or a co-writer on something, but he's
always executive producer. So
well, I know, but Jeff Johns is the only one I was going to pull. But I was like, what is his role really? Because I know Jim Lee's up there in the DC universe,
but these aren't people that like because if they came out with like, hey, here's like when they came out with the DCEU, they weren't like, hey, this is the masterful crafting of
Zack Snyder.
Because they were like, yeah, Man of Steel, Zack Snyder. Man of Steel, Zack Snyder, and then they were like, okay, what's our next movie going to be? BVS, Zack Snyder.
We're introducing Wonder Woman.
Okay.
All right.
We're going to do Suicide Squad, too. How are we going to have to direct those movies?
And by the way, we're killing Superman in that movie. Didn't you just introduce him?
Now, granted, you got to think that it could have been Warner Brothers' initial idea that they were like, hey, Zack Snyder is going to be the head of this universe. This is just going to be like Zack Snyder's movies. He's going to keep the continuity, all that stuff. Then they saw BVS and went, oh, no, I made a mistake.
Yeah, but then look at they turned back and gave him the Zack Snyder cut of Justice League. So
how much was that? An extra $80 million he spent on it?
Hey, $80 million of my pleasure of watching. I just watched it again the other night. But so this week we're talking about DC, and next week we're talking about Marvel.
And we have 8 directors that we have previously talked about that we're going to be doing for both of them. But again, today we're only going to be doing DC. Now, some of them are going to have a little more insight as to why we made these selections. Other ones may be self-explanatory. Other ones maybe we don't really have a good reason for it. It's just kind of the thing on our mind,
isn't it? And to be honest, this is the stuff we do behind the scenes. Like, I want to say behind the scenes. This is the stuff we do.
We don't really have it behind the scenes yet.
What we do naturally. Any given time we're talking, like, you know, we'll talk about each other's day. Then it'll just go off into this random skew of just like, oh man, what if this? Oh, cool, what if this? You know.
Idea for a later one, taking directors from different, like, because our rules for this were sort of the directors have actually not directed any MCU or DCEU movies. Now, they may have directed movies that involved some of, you know, DC's or Marvel's. Well, I think it's just DC. Yeah, they involve some of DC's characters, but the rules were, one, the hero that they do has to have not had a previous superhero movie.
Yes.
The director definitely couldn't have directed a movie that involves it.
Well, there is somebody on the list that's kind of, well, 2 people.
There's 2. There's literally 2 people.
Yeah, 2 people
that have directed movies in those universes of the same character.
Yes. Want to start off?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I think I'm going to start with our kind of sort of random-ish one. Someone that we really enjoyed their movies a lot more in the 90s. Haven't really gone back. Like you said, you don't particularly care that much. But Spike Lee, someone I don't think you could ever pay enough money to do a DC movie.
I think I got him with mine.
Yeah?
I think I would bring him to the table, and he would be like, all right, let me hear what you got. And I could tell him what I got and who I'm giving him, and he's going to be like, you know.
Well, see, there's sort of criteria for his movie, which very much limited the heroes that we could pick overall.
All I ask is Michael Rappaport makes a cameo.
But I picked, unimaginatively enough, Static Shock.
It's a good idea. If anybody is going to get the Milestone universe off its ass and into cinema, you know, I think Spike Lee is the way to go with that, especially with the way Milestone is trying to be. They're trying to bring back Milestone, and they've already done like Icon and Rocket. They've done Static, and it's not Static Shock. It should just be Static.
Now it's just Static.
The cartoon was Static Shock.
No, I thought his comic was called Static Shock too.
No, it was Static. Then the cartoon called him Static Shock.
I was looking him up on the DC database, and it came up as Static Shock. So, now, granted, my initial exposure to Static was through the Static Shock TV show, which I think a lot of people, that was probably their early exposure to.
And mine was Milestone.
Yeah,
because when I fell into Milestone, it was Icon and Rocket. I fell in love with. It was funny thing is I found the Milestone universe in a 25-cent bin at Atomic Comics. Remember Atomic Comics?
That's well before I was really interested, I think.
Yeah, and I remember just like scrounging through, and I was like, oh, what's this? And I was like, oh, you know, that's cool, you know. And the guy behind the counter was like, oh, that's Icon and Rocket. Icon's kind of like Superman, but, you know, and same origin of him coming from space. Like, he goes, but he lands in and then some plantation, and he becomes a slave, but then he becomes rich, and then, you know, then Rocky kind of brings him out. I was like, oh, that's cool. And then that's where the Blood Syndicate and all that from that universe rolled out and stuff like that. So that's the way I was introduced to Static. And then the cartoon, I remember it being a big thing on Warner Brothers.
I think my first comic book shop here was Overlord.
Overlord? That sounds familiar.
That was right where Cavs is. It used to be there.
Oh, yeah.
And there was the place downtown, but that was a gaming shop, not a comic shop.
You remember when Geekery tried to do comics?
Yeah, I know. Either way.
Yeah, so, okay, what do you think he would bring to the table with that?
I think he'd bring a lot more down-to-earth kind of... It kind of gives me like Boys in the Hood vibes as far as what he could do with it.
Well, you know, it's the Dakotaverse. You know, I think Static would be a good way to introduce the Dakotaverse, and I think Spike Lee would be a good choice just because it's opening up this universe that no one really knows. You know, they're trying to get this universe exposed now. But I think you can't just be like, here's an Icon and Rocket movie. They're like, well, who the fuck's Icon and Rocket? Yeah, we've seen Icon and what's that show? Young Justice. I think he's popped up in Young Justice, like background character or whatever, you know. But to the extent of it, I'd be like, okay, well, Static Shock. Oh, that cartoon I used to watch as a kid? You know, I'll watch that.
Well, and it's also like the base life for Virgil before everything goes on is very like hood life. Like, he wasn't a gangster at all, but he was really kind of getting mixed into that life. And, you know, that part to it, I think Spike Lee is amazing at giving the kind of down-to-earth perspective of African Americans. And I think it'd be really great to have him. The only other person I could think of doing those kind of movies would be, like Jordan Peele, something like that.
I don't know. Jordan Peele's been on my miss list lately. Like...
Fair. But, so who are you going to pick for Static?
All right, you ready for this? Mm-hmm. You ready for this? For Spike Lee, Swamp Thing.
Okay.
The wife was like, what are you doing? I was like a mad scientist sitting at my desk, and I wrote this thing like 10 times. And then the first list that we shared together the first time, I was like, no, I need to challenge myself. So I will admit the DC list was much easier than the Marvel list. Mm-hmm. So Swamp Thing was somebody I was thinking like if you can go environmental with it, you know, and you can go into the aspect that I know he could probably tell a great love story and the tragedy of this character. And I just thought the environmental part, you know, Mother Nature and this and that would be like the key to bring him in, being like, hey, it's not just your typical superhero movie. Like this person's part of the earth, and like he's a big thing they go to in the comic books, you know, to save their asses a lot of times. Mm-hmm. You know, they go to Swamp Thing.
I guess we should also note on this one, Swamp Thing is one of the few that we're actually giving a pass because technically there was a Swamp Thing movie.
Oh, well, no, there was one in the 90s.
It was a really bad
and there was a show. I forgot about the show.
I forgot about the show. We also gave the criteria on our list that if you want to base it off of a show's heroes, you're allowed to. You're just not. It would be a different movie, maybe with different actors. Doesn't really matter. But like,
so your movie got greenlit, mine didn't.
Yours got greenlit. Mine just got lit. No. So, what do you kind of have set for the thoughts on the setting of that kind of? Because you're saying it's mostly about the romance of it.
Well, not the romance, the environmental.
No, the environment.
Like because, you know...
You literally said a good romance story.
I think you could include a good romance story, but my hook for Mr. Spike Lee was like, it's about the environment and about how people are destroying the earth and Swamp Thing, you know, he's connected to the earth. And I think that's where I'll hook him. And then I'll be like, okay, then I really need a simple love story in the mix of that. So, you know, and I think Spike Lee will be like, all right, got you.
And this is to be... Now, given the current DCEU that doesn't really exist anymore, but that did exist, would this be a part of it? And where in that would this take place? Because Swamp Thing doesn't come out that often unless he's very much needed. So it's completely possible that he could have existed prior.
I would want it to be a self-contained movie. We can do Easter eggs, you know, of the DC universe inside it, but I would really want the story to be more self-contained, of focusing on the character itself, because I think Swamp Thing, you know, even though the TV show that I completely forgot about, I feel like he's such a strong enough character.
I think there was one season of that, so nobody blames you.
He's such a strong enough character. I feel like he could carry his own weight in a movie because he is really important to the DC universe.
Okay.
So so that's I want it more self-contained.
Okay.
Easter eggs galore because I love.
That's any superhero movie nowadays.
Yeah, so. Even in the new Marvel movies.
Yeah.
Mine. We're going Nolan now.
Okay.
Christopher Nolan. Got him in the seat. I'm gonna be like New Gods.
Okay, I think wasn't that when we discussed initially?
Yeah,
I don't think
different
that one changed.
No, he has something else.
Oh no, he did have something else. Now
yeah.
I remember because of
yeah. So, New Gods. I feel like because I just watched Inception, like after we talked, and I was just like, man, he's a world builder. Mm-hmm. He's that guy that can manipulate the eye of the camera. He knows how to build these incredible like sets, and he's very practical with his effects and stuff like that. In some cases, and he'll make like in Inception when the hallway's spinning. That's a hallway, spinning, and they just have to fight.
That's Star Trek level of practical effects.
Yeah, and so I was just like, man, how would a mind like Christopher Nolan plus his brother Jonathan Nolan collaborating and bringing to life the New Gods? Mm-hmm. And originally my New Gods was somebody else, but I was like, I felt like that person would have been like babied it, and I think with Nolan, it'll take him like 5 years. I think.
Say, which of the New Gods are you doing? All of them, or do you have someone specifically that you would have set as like the center point, like Orion or?
I was thinking Orion.
Yeah, there's Orion's kind of the big one that a lot of people kind of focus on.
Yeah, so and I would just be like, hey, there's these characters here, make art,
mm-hmm.
But stay in the perimeter of,
Now, how do you think he would prevent this from being like an Eternals thing, like where it's too much about the art? Which, don't get me wrong, some people may like Eternals. I don't know. I've never met one, but there's so much art in it that it takes away to me on the idea of the movie that it's supposed to be.
I say it wouldn't fall into the Eternals realm because Nolan's about story, mm-hmm. and in Eternals they didn't care about story.
I mean, at some they cared about story and then didn't care about story.
Yeah,
and they cared about story and then didn't care about
Then they're like, oh, these characters, we don't give a shit about any of them at the end of this movie. So I think Nolan is more like story driven, and he's also very visually driven. And with his brother Jonathan, I think they could make a very delightful New Gods movie, and it can have a connection to the universe, but still its own setting, because we're introducing, this is a whole new level of introduction to things that are not really mainstream.
Well, you did have Apocalypse in there.
Yeah.
Not Apocalypse. You had Doom's Darkseid.
Yeah.
You had Darkseid in the Snyder cut. Granted, you didn't actually have him except for him being hailed in, anything that would technically be considered canonical. So and Steppenwolf even mentions, that the old gods are dead.
Yeah. Specifically,
kind of giving a shout out to the new gods. So it's not unprecedented that they would be part of it. But yeah, no, sorry, I know that he's Peacemaker, but I just see Orion being played by John Cena.
Dude, okay. Hold on, I'm calling Nolan right now.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, call James. Tell James. And
just the attitude that Orion typically has, too. That just... Yeah.
This is not doing anything for me no more.
It's gone, yeah. So for my Christopher Nolan, I actually kind of went the reverse way to that. A lot of world building, but not on a grand scale, kind of on an internal scale. Inspector. So this was one that I did have initially because we discussed this list a while back. But yeah, Nolan in charge of Spectre being a very kind of deep dive into that other side of life. And really just kind of world building that. Now, as far as time,
I remember when I told you my pick for that character, and I was like, yeah, I was all proud of that pick too. And I was like, yeah. Then you're like, Nolan, Spectre. I was like, oh,
because you're talking about story, like that could be some really good story.
And what Spectre will it be though?
You're
like Hal Jordan, and now sold.
Actually, if we did a Green Lantern movie, had him die and had him come back as Spectre.
And it's Ryan Reynolds?
Yeah.
Sold.
But no, but this would be more of a, oddly enough, a down to earth kind of thing too. Kind of the opposite. Like a lot of this is opposite to how you're viewing Nolan, where mine be a lot more about him, like kind of like not a noir setting, but kind of like a noir tale of him solving like a mass murderer kind of, or not mass murder, serial murder kind of thing.
Mass murder. I was like,
Mass
damn.
murder.
Okay.
Yeah. But him, finding like serial murderer and like just there's so many interconnected. Because how many stories does Spectre have?
Quite a bit. Well, just because I followed the character right when Hal died and became, and I followed him.
You did.
Yeah, I followed him all the way until his rebirth, when Jeff Johns brought back Hal Jordan from the dead. And I think there's a lot of adventure that is there.
Well, it's not even just him though, because Spectre's been a few people.
Yeah, no, he's been a few people, but I only started paying attention when Hal Jordan became the Spectre because my Green Lantern obsession.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and this would be something that would probably exist concurrently to the big stuff going on, where it's just kind of I have all of this power, but ultimately I'm staying out of everything because I want to find peace for others.
Yeah.
That kind of story.
All right. Well,
Okay. So next, I think let's go to Spielberg. Steven Spielberg. I went through his, honestly, to me, wasn't hard because I was thinking about heroes that really screamed to me kind of Spielberg's level of drama, humor, stuff like that. And legitimately, I got Booster Gold.
Oh yeah. My original Booster Gold pick was your
original Booster Gold was Nolan.
Mm-hmm.
Because you wanted to time travel because of Tenet. And then you watch the next movie, it's like, oh man, this thing instead.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think kind of there's a lot to it where I don't know who I would want to play Booster. It'd have to be someone that could be very charismatic but also very annoying.
Ryan Reynolds.
Which is true.
We're just gonna hire Ryan Reynolds for everything.
It'll be the Reynolds verse.
Dave Bautista. You imagine him as Booster Gold?
That'd be a little awkward.
Imagine him with a wig, because he's not.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't know. The only person I ever knew that they didn't play Booster Gold, they voiced him, was the same person that did Fry from Futurama. And that voice in my head is kind of what I would want. So it would be like a well-built but not overly muscular, probably tan individual.
Well, I remember when they the guy that played Booster Gold in Smallville.
No, Booster Gold is actually voiced, or Skeet was the one that was voiced by him. I don't remember who voiced Booster Gold.
Yeah, I remember when he popped up in Smallville, and I flipped out. I was like, Booster Gold, that's my area of comic books because it dives deep. Because I just read Booster Gold and Blue Beetle, and I thought a Booster Gold and Blue Beetle team up movie would be fucking fantastic.
But that wouldn't be Jaime. That would be Ted.
Yeah,
like that's the, and I wouldn't mind that. I wouldn't be too opposed to that idea. Those two are a classic DC pairing that don't get enough love.
Oh yeah, I found at Bookman's in their little 25-cent area, I found a stack of Booster Gold comics and I found a stack of Blue Beetle comics, and I was like, you're all coming home with me because I'm that guy that loves these underappreciated characters so much.
Well, I think that one of my favorite parts of Booster Gold, which I really feel goes into Spielberg's style of acting, is he's a loser by all accounts.
And you could tie it to the universe because, especially when he's trying to steal people's shine. Mm-hmm. The whole reason why he's time traveling is because he's trying to make a niche for himself.
Yeah. Well, I just, one of my, if not my favorite episode of Justice League Unlimited was The Greatest Story Never Told.
Oh.
It's the one where Booster Gold, like, there's this big alien attack going on. Booster Gold gets put in charge of helping civilians by Batman. He's like, why am I doing this? Like, I'm so powerful. Why am I stuck doing this? And then he literally saves the world without anybody ever knowing.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, that is a Booster Gold story right there. The only times he's actually heroic in the great ways when nobody's watching.
My pick was a team up movie.
Yeah.
I feel like because Spielberg, I feel like he could do this. and have fun with it, especially with all the characters. Legion of Superheroes.
Okay.
Yeah, I was like digging deep, and I was trying to pick minute characters. Like, ooh, that character, and I was just like,
which is funny because Booster Gold actually does go through the Legion of Superheroes. He has one of their rings.
Yeah, and we can include Superboy.
Yeah,
we can include, that's the draw for people, because people are like Legion of Superheroes. Well, there's Superman. Oh, okay.
Well, you could have it be. I mean, I think the
Superboy.
It's something you could take from like how the TV show did it, where it's literally Clark Kent gets pulled into the future, finds out, oh, geez, I'm going to be a really big superhero. I don't really know how I'm going to handle these expectations, and then he joins the Legion of Superheroes to become a better hero.
Yeah, and I was thinking of seeing Brainiac 5 and all this, seeing Saturn Girl, these characters, because the reason why, what's funny is like the reason why I picked the Legion of Superheroes is because I was going through all my graphic novels. I was trying to find a team that I thought, a team or a character, and then this book I bought a few weeks ago, it's this old, it's from the 70s, and they used to put them out as pocket books, and it's the Superman Legion. I just kept looking at that cover, and I was just like, man, a Spielberg Legion of Superheroes movies, I think that would be epic.
Yeah. I would only say the one thing I would want before that is they would have to have a Superman movie or a Supergirl movie that dealt with Brainiac. Because I don't think it would be... One, it would either vastly confuse the crap out of people or not be fair to the character of Brainiac if the first introduction that people had of Brainiac was Brainiac 5 because of who he is.
Well, and that too, remember the rumor for a very long time, the Man of Steel 2 that never came out, never came to fruition, was supposed to be Brainiac's, was where we were supposed to go with that, and it never happened. They've done it in... Did he do Brainiac in Smallville?
I think they kind of did, but not to any crucial point.
Okay.
They did it in Injustice, in the game, the video game.
Yeah.
Where the second game's villain was Brainiac, but besides that, Brainiac doesn't really... Outside of comic books, obviously, because he's a very big deal in comics books, but he doesn't really come up that much in more popular culture versions.
I feel like
I
just saw a live-action version of him. Maybe in that Superman and Lois show? I don't know.
Yeah, in the Lois and Clark show? Or in the newer one?
The newer one.
I actually haven't watched that one at all, so...
I've been on and off. But yeah, there we go. Legion of Superheroes, Steven Spielberg.
Okay.
All right. Let's go George, since we talked about Steven. George Lucas. Plastic Man. I stuck with my original.
Okay.
Yeah, just because I was just like... It was easier to be something goofy, something that I know special effects wise, he'll have a blast with it, he's like, more CG, make his arm stretch that way, let him pick his nose, any fart noises we can use, I was just thinking of George in that aspect of being like, hey, George, you got free range to do what you want. Just have fun. Just do your thing. Do your George Lucas thing. Because we were talking about it when we put George Lucas in here. We were like, looking at his filmography. You looked at his filmography. We were like, yeah.
He doesn't. he has done, what did we say, 7 movies? He has directed 7 movies, and everything else he's been a producer in a lot of things. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, he created Star Wars, or American Graffiti. He created Star Wars. Then...
Well, THX before.
Oh, yeah, THX before. And then after that, I think the next one was Howard the Duck.
Well, that was produced.
Was that? Did we find out if it was produced or directed?
Nah, he didn't direct that. A lot of that stuff, especially Willow and whatnot, those were from the brains of George Lucas, but he didn't want to be in that director's chair. After directing, he likes being a cameraman. He likes being a producer. He likes not telling everybody,
He likes critiquing others, but being immune to critique himself.
It wasn't like us. Well, yeah, it wasn't really critique because all the things you hear from George, a little more, a little less. Okay, what does that mean, George? It's
what would the scale of this be? Would this be a small scale, just having him, gain his powers and still be doing petty theft and then getting caught and reformed? Or...
I think it would be a good redemption story.
Okay.
I think George would like to play with the aspect of a redemption and take this character who's the 2-bit criminal who gets this power, and redeems himself at the end and not sacrifice himself, but sacrifices everything that he knew.
He learns.
He learns
what it is to be a hero.
Yeah. And I think George would do really well with that aspect.
All right.
And he slaughters little children at the end.
Yes. Hatchet man. I can turn my hands into hatchets.
The end.
The end. For me, I went kind of like 1,000 degrees the opposite way. I did Crime Syndicate, the storyline of the Crime Syndicate from Earth 3.
I will pay to see that movie.
And it's so here's the truth.
Because if you want, like, when they hire us and they're like, hey, George Lucas is doing the Crime Syndicate, like, our names are in headlights.
Yeah. People are just like, oh my gosh, do they need medication?
Fire these men.
But no, honestly, kind of, because we were discussing, Lucas is someone really hard to pick non-original ideas for, because like we were talking about, most of the stuff he's done, if not all of the stuff he's done, has been original ideas or just slightly picked from other things. So having him have to do something within continuity, my thought was to go the other way, give him something that is very large scale. So this would be, wouldn't necessarily be Crisis on Two Earths kind of level of thing. This would actually probably just be the Crime Syndicate.
Yeah, you could do that, because they just dropped a new 6-issue Crime Syndicate story that takes place on his own type of thing. Mm-hmm. And you could just tell George,
well, and have it be, because I mean, episode, the 3 Star Wars movies, the 3 most recent Star Wars movies he directed, the episode 1, 2, and 3, didn't have a happy ending. It didn't need to have a happy ending, because there was more of a story that we all knew was going to come later to happen. So the Crime Syndicate ends on not a happy ending, where most of that world's Justice League equivalent have been killed, but somebody is taking a trip to Earth 1, and that's where it ends. Like that's ultimately the idea of being able to have evil versions of the characters. Ultraman, Superwoman, Owlman, Power Ring. I know there's more. I just can't remember the rest of their names right now. But like these...
Superwoman.
I said Superwoman.
Did you?
Yeah, I did. I said the Trinity originally. You said Owlman as I was trying to say it. But, no. But like have this world that's kind of on its head, where Luthor's the good guy. And the Joker is the jester who's a good guy. And you have like this just weird reverse... Yeah. Where they are controlling the world.
And you have Owlman, who's a fucking psychopath,
Yeah, that's great, too. But, yeah, no, so you have this, dark world that they can control. That, I mean, giving George Lucas control over it to do as he wish. Would it be a kid's movie? Probably be PG-13. Probably be pushing that. I mean, if Wanda can get away with what she did in Strange for PG-13, that book is open.
Yeah, I think George can do that. I think he's capable of doing that. Like, because you went the opposite. I was just like,
you were like, give him this one hero.
What did I give him?
Plastic
Marvel?
Oh,
no, Marvel. I went really ridiculous.
Yeah, but yeah. So that's my Lucas. I guess just because you already picked this for a different director, I'm just going to take it now to get it out of the way.
Okay.
James Cameron for Legion of Superheroes.
Oh, this is going to be fast.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, James Cameron, Legion of Superheroes, you were saying about the big scale of all of it and stuff like that, having this good story. I was just thinking that like 90% of it would be CG, and that's like his forte at this point in time.
Oh, yeah. And the sequel will come out 12 years later.
Yeah, no, if not longer. But no, I just think that because it's also about world building too. Because Legion of Superheroes it's 1,000 years in the future. It's pretty much a different world. So it'd give him this means to build this world that is 1,000 years older and maybe 1,000 years wiser.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not a lot to really add in on that.
Mine, yeah, is a lot smaller than that, because you know how DC likes to do villains. I did Grodd. Like, I don't know why, just because you were talking about the CG stuff, like how I was thinking of Avatar.
Okay.
And whatnot. I was like, oh, it'd be fucking cool to see him build Grodd in Gorilla City and all that, and play with that aspect of Grodd and why Grodd went bad. You know, when he, yeah.
Okay, I guess I was more just like, why Gorilla Grodd of all the villains? Like, I'm surprised. I would be like Grundy. I thought was gonna be.
No, I went Grodd just because like, I was like, oh man, that would be really cool to have that aspect of like, why is Grodd the way he is? Gorilla City, you got all this stuff with Grodd. I think he would make the CG look awesome with Grodd.
Are we gonna do the same thing with Grodd that we did with Joker, where we're trying to make him into a tragic hero?
No. I want us to like, oh, I really like this character. Oh no, he's just turning to the dark side, you know.
Okay.
So, all right, James Cameron. Let's see. Let's just get this one out of the way too. Robert Emmerich.
Oh, I wanted to save Emmerich for last. I like that. But go ahead with your Emmerich.
I gave him Final Crisis. Just because I was like, he was hard with Robert Emmerich because I went through his filmography like you did, and I'm like, he's just nothing but end of the world movies, and I was just like, I'm just gonna give him an event and be like, here you go, you know, and just be ridiculous as best as you can, but make sure Batman dies, and we have a shot of Superman holding Batman's corpse, you know.
See, so I've been thinking about it with that since, because that was actually your original one too, was Final Crisis. The only slight issue I have with giving Emmerich Final Crisis is the same reason why I changed some of my other ones from being like big multi-thing scaled events into each other, is that, do you think Emmerich would be good to the characters that he didn't help create? And that he, because I was also thinking about like all of those movies, 2012 and
the only reason I had Robert Emmerich on the brain when we discussed this was because of that new movie Moonfall I really want to see, and that I haven't seen it yet, but it's just one of those things I was just like, oh, Robert Emmerich, yeah, because the wife was like, who? I'm like, Independence Day. Then when I named them off, I was like, oh yeah, he just does End of the World.
But it's funny to me, like I haven't seen Moonfall, so I can't speak about that one. But in order of his movies, characters stop having character.
And it has to have John Cusack.
But I'm just saying that, like, characters stop, like, because if you look at Independence Day, great characterization, sort of Will Smith and Jeff Goldblum. Then you look at The Day After Tomorrow. Not exactly great characterization to Jake Gyllenhaal or...
what was his name?
The dad.
The dad.
Then you look at Knowing. You're like, oh gosh, we're just letting things go off the rails here. So,
well, that was the 2-pack I told you. Remember for Moonfall at Walmart? It's like, you get Moonfall and you get Knowing. And I'm like, I don't need...
I don't need to know. No, but that's why his can't be about that many characters, because he doesn't do characterization well.
You're gonna be really disappointed in my Marvel pick then when we get there.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm disappointed with my Marvel pick. I need to try to think of a different Marvel pick for that one, just because I feel like that's very important. So that's wide scale multi-universe going, isn't it?
Yeah.
Final Crisis, that's the one where Batman gets killed by Darkseid, isn't it?
Yep.
But he doesn't really get killed. He gets sent back in time.
He wakes up in different set of times.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. You can't ask what scale that is, because obviously that's like
including everybody. Yeah. Like, hey, by the way, you know, it's like, hey, we just dropped. Let's see, one of our movies. We just dropped Legion of Superheroes. Well, what's next? Final Crisis. Are we gonna build to that? No.
Nope. Just there. Just there. Get it done. If you want to learn about it, read the things. Yeah. Like, although to be fair, that would be very on brand for DC. Because Marvel's like, yeah, we're gonna meticulously build towards this next event. DC's just like
Doomsday in the second movie.
I know.
Yeah.
You got Death of Superman, one of the most important storylines of a comic book of all times, in their second movie. Yeah.
All right. So what'd you get?
I picked Martian Manhunter, although I didn't spell it right on here whatsoever.
No,
so, mine would be a down to Mars sort of story.
Down to Mars.
But ultimately, like, his life as the Manhunters are coming, and the destruction of Mars being the finale of it. There is no happy ending to this. It's him being teleported to Earth and catching on fire.
Oh God.
And then cut to black. And then we cut to him being black.
Wow, sir. All right. So Final Crisis and
Yeah.
Whatever movie you just gave me there. Martian Manhunter.
Martian Manhunter. I don't know. It's he's really bad at characterizing multiple characters in his movie, the more there are. So I think if you cut it down to a very small cast that you're supposed to care about, John Jones, maybe his wife.
Yeah, and that was the problem with Robert Emmerich in the first place. I was kind of like, he just does these big scale, like, crazy out of the... Because I heard that Moonfall is, like, it's dumb, but it's, like, Fast and Furious go into space dumb. Yeah.
Well, it's from what I've seen of it, there's like a group of people on Earth and a group of people in space that we're following concurrently as this is going on, and I'm just like, maybe it'll be good that he does that, because other times when he's trying to follow multiple groups, it never is good. So, but yeah, having him focus on a more, straight and narrow thing that can be attached to it, and then have the world end, well, Mars end at the end of it, still fitting his stylization of doing things. Yeah. Although now the more and more I'm looking at it, I, again, haven't seen Moonfall, but he went from end of world events to ending the world.
2012.
2012, Knowing.
Day After Tomorrow.
Day After Tomorrow, the world didn't end.
It didn't end. It was freezing.
Well, no, but things were getting better. So it's like Independence Day, early on. They save the world from an invasion. Like, they stop it. Then the next bigger one is The Day After Tomorrow, where they...
Didn't the world come to an end, though, in Independence Day 2?
That doesn't count, though, because I'm talking about, like, chronologically
from
what he's made. So then we have, The Day After Tomorrow, where, yeah, it freezes up top and a lot of people die, but then it kind of brings unity to the world around trying to pretty much, like, solve climate change. Yeah. Then Knowing, just everybody fucking dies.
Because you know.
Yeah.
And the more you know.
And then, what was the other one? There was, not Moonfall, there was one before that.
Ooh,
2012. Everyone dies.
I hope your next pick is great.
Well, so we have...
So we already got James.
We have two left.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Tarantino, because I want to save our discussion on the last one for last.
Okay.
So, Quentin Tarantino, I picked a very down-to-earth Wildcat story, where it would be...
The boxing,
the gratuitous violence kind of going on around it as he's, in it with the mob and trying to get himself out of there while he's still being like, because this would also be set in like the 70s. Like,
it's got like a timepiece.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, like before superheroes are like a really, really big thing, kind of like Watchmen, where they're like just dudes in superhero costumes going around. It's kind of what Wildcat is in this universe, but he's mostly respected by the cops. But then as a boxer, he's in it to the mob a bit, and he has to make this choice between doing what's right and, keeping things going as he wants them to do. And yeah, and I don't even know how the story would be told necessarily, because it's Tarantino, so you never know how that story is going to get told.
Yeah, mine was Lobo. I stuck with the original one, but this time around, I was like, the story is Lobo's after a bounty, and it's here on Earth, and it's an alien that's been in disguise here on Earth. So what happens is, Lobo comes to Earth to a random bar in the middle of fucking nowhere, and the person he's trying to bounty takes all his stuff, and he takes off like to Vegas or something like that. So we got to go. It's a travel story from the bar to Vegas, and he has to like steal a car.
Doesn't Lobo know how to fly?
No, he's always had his bike.
He's always had his bike, but I thought he could still fly. Like, he still has the ability of flight.
I'm trying to bring it back down to earth, man. But I'm just saying, I want a travel movie, but with Lobo and his adventures from the bar to Vegas to go after his stuff, get his stuff, and catch his bounty and murder the dude. Like, accidentally pop his head. That's how you get in the movie. He's like, oh, you are worth quite a bit, but at least I got my stuff back.
Counterpoint to that, because we haven't really had any counterpoints to other things. What if it was a slightly more humorous Deathstroke? Like, not the dark Slade Wilson, but like, because at that point in time, you could have him get all his shit taken, have him like get mutilated pretty much, but then heal back from it.
Well, I was gonna have a kid involved. Like, this kid's gonna guide him. Like
Rose,
yeah, like,
or Jericho.
Yeah.
Yeah, have one of his kids be that one, and him not know that it's his kid till the end.
There's a briefcase. It has the birth certificate.
Yeah. No, there's a briefcase and it's got his eyeball in it. It's like, oh my gosh, where'd you get that? My mom said it was my dad's. Jeez.
It's a Lobo. Yeah.
Okay. Well, so now we're on to our last one.
And I'm very excited about this one because this one I was like, I am a genius, Mr. Tim Burton. Originally, like, who did I give him?
Originally you gave him Spectre.
I originally gave him Spectre, but I was like, well, once again, thinking of what the studios do, how they want to bank off villains, and I feel like if I was like, hey, Burton, if you have an idea, like what villain would you take from, and I feel like this is a character he would take, Clayface. The tragic story of this actor who becomes, this monster, and I think playing on that would be really, really cool. And I know he'll probably cast Johnny in some role, but,
it'd probably be one of the people he transforms into for a while.
Yeah. So I really like that idea. And I thought of the idea too of, with Clayface, like it kind of has that, Dark Man feel to it, like he can't hold his shape.
He didn't direct Darkman though, did he?
Sam Raimi did.
I was like, I swear, because yeah.
No, I just thought of Darkman because he in Darkman the whole point is him trying to get the skin grasp back so he can get his face back and all this and that, and each attempt fails and it keeps facing. So I was thinking like with Clayface, he's trying to master his ability to look normal, but he can't stay normal for long, and he goes back to being Clayface. So I was thinking of that aspect of a storyline of him trying and trying and trying. Then ultimately, in the end, in Tim Burton fashion, Clayface accepts who he is and chooses the life of being a criminal. And you can have Batman in there if you want, like teases of him, he's out there, whatnot.
Which one?
I would go with his Batman, 89.
Yeah, you'd go with Keaton?
Yeah, I'd go with Keaton.
Yeah.
And you can set it in that time frame of when that movie came out. So imagine how it would look,
My only problem with that, I think it's a good idea, except for that we live in the real world, where the de-aging thing wouldn't be so great on Keaton.
I know, we're not showing Keaton.
Okay.
Keaton's out there.
Are you going to get the bat turn? Like, that's all you're going to get, like, from the Flash teaser? Just
Yeah, like, you'll probably see the car, but you won't, it's Clayface's movie, but Batman is there. And I was thinking of the fun posters you can have of Harvey Dent in the background going for mayor and whatnot with Billy D. Williams. Yeah. And I was just thinking like him playing in that world again, a little bit of the reins and being like, I don't want to see Batman Returns Gotham. I want to see Gotham from 89 Batman,
So what's the, I my feelings on Joker.
That's why I didn't give him Joker.
I know. Well, no. But I'm just the having complete creative control and just giving him this. Cool, that's fine. My problem with it is that like it doesn't have a big enough fan base for a lot of things, and Burton behind it would probably give it some zhuzh. But I don't know. I feel like there's better villains that you probably could have thrown in there.
The main reason I picked him too is because I did watch a little movie called Ed Wood, and I am okay. Let me tell the audience right here. I am not the biggest Tim Burton fan. I am like some things I like Edward Scissorhands and stuff like that. I respect his work. I sometimes the tone is always off for me. And as a kid, Batman Returns was the movie to go to. Then as I grew older, it was Batman 89 that I really cared about. And then a lot of stuff just kind of came, wow, it's like flat tone.
Very low too.
Yeah, it came a little flat tone with me with his work, But I do love like Sweeney Todd and stuff like that. And then when he came with Charlie and Chocolate Factory, then he's like, okay, then I'm doing Alice in Wonderland. I was like, all right, dude, stop, But as I go back now, there is things that I like that kind of fly under the radar, like this Ed Wood movie. And I fell in love with this movie. And then for some reason, Clayface popped in my head. The actor who's trying, because Ed Wood's a director in this movie, and he's trying to make his movies. And I was thinking of the opposite of Clayface being that, tragic character who's trying to be, so good. He wants to act. He's a Shakespearean actor, And I was thinking of the kind of like, have him have a silly tone in the beginning, like
Harley Quinn.
yeah. So, and how, I'm a Shakespearean actor, yeah, it's all tragic. Then you slowly start stripping that away from him and finally becoming Clayface.
Yeah.
The end.
Mine is Lobo for Burton. Just the stylization of Lobo himself is very Burton-esque. Just the pale skin, the black hair, the overly ridiculous on every aspect of how he acts on everything. My Lobo tale though would not be an on-Earth tale. It would be an out in space kind of crazy adventure.
And he can do. He hasn't really. No, we'll see. Mars Attacks. And there's those little things with Burton that I always forget, like Dark Shadows. Even though it has Johnny Depp in it, I forgot he did Dark Shadows. I watched Dark Shadows. I'm like, I fucking love this movie. And I'm like, oh, it's a Tim Burton movie. Then like things like Big Fish. I watched Big Fish and then I'm like, oh yeah, Tim Burton did this movie. He's
done a lot of movies. This is just the weirdest thing is because
I think black and white, I think gothic, that style. But then I watch a movie like Ed Wood, which everybody should see. It's some of his style plus some of telling of Hollywood back in the day. And I was just like, man, sometimes I got to put my foot in my mouth with you.
No, my Lobo tale though would be it would be a buddy space adventure when they're going hunting stuff.
Do you think he would go old school? Because I know he's a big fan of alien movies like Mars Attacks. Do you think he'll go that aspect? And a cameo for one of those.
Probably one of the Martians would be a cameo in there. Yeah. No, but it would be my intent would be like Lobo meets Spaceballs kind of level of.
Oh my gosh!
Like silliness.
Who's playing Lobo?
Oh geez.
You need somebody big.
Yeah. Dave Bautista?
I was about to say Dave Bautista, I think, can pull off the Lobo role.
I would at least give him an audition. There's a lot of big actor or big guy comedian kind of level dudes.
Lou Ferrigno.
Jeez.
Ooh, wait a minute. Try to go old school with it. Let's give it to Lou.
Yeah. Cut. I said cut. What
do you need?
That's Stallone, not
Ferrigno. He almost has the same. Yeah, but no, okay. Well,
yeah. So next time we'll be back with our
Marvel pick. So tell us what you think.
Tell us who you'd pick.
Yeah, who would you pick for your movies with this?
Well,
and I will name off the directors just so, and I'll probably list them in the description of the video. We have Christopher Nolan, Tim Burton, Steven Spielberg, Quentin Tarantino, Spike Lee, George Lucas, Robert Emmerich, James Cameron. Did I miss somebody?
Lee, Burton, Nolan, Tarantino, Cameron, Spielberg, Lucas, and Emmerich.
Okay, there you go. Tell us who would you think, which movie would you pick of ours?
Yeah, and honestly, if you have other directors that you want us to try this for, leave them in the comments too.
Yeah, so we're going to have these same directors for Marvel next week. And I feel like I'm going to fail a lot because that one was hard.
Yeah, you already told me if you might have changed them. You told me a few of them from before, though, and yeah.
Yeah, because I love Marvel. Mm-hmm. And looking at the scope of all the movies today, it was very hard to pick from that pool of who's going to do something different, who's going to do something new that's never been to the big screen before. So they've kind of almost done it all at this point, And so that was the hard part about it, and I really challenged myself. I think I fell flat, and I feel like my DC list is far superior just because I am a fan of DC.
Yeah,
like a hardcore fan of DC. I love the Marvel movies, but DC's my jam.
So I have one question for you before we leave to end this on, but I need to figure out the thing real quick.
Yeah.
So, give me just a second.
I think we came up with some good lists. I think we came up with some good story ideas.
Yeah. So, what do you think would be a better movie? A Wonder Woman movie directed by Anna Boden, or a Captain Marvel movie directed by Patty Jenkins? Swapping the director in those two movies, which one do you think comes out better for it? or worse.
I think the Wonder Woman come out worse.
Yeah, I think I'd really like that Captain Marvel movie with Patty Jenkins directing it.
Yeah, I think Patty Jenkins has a special attachment to the Wonder Woman character, and her having Zack's and Deborah Snyder's like blessing and being like, "You do your thing," and that Wonder Woman movie's great.
The thing was good.
Yeah,
well, the first one was.
Second one as well.
I'm sorry, Ghost sleeping with somebody, not cool.
Still won't let that go.
I'm sorry, I'm never gonna let that go.
Tell us what you think of our list. Yeah, I don't think Patty Jenkins. Yeah, no, Patty Jenkins Captain. Now I'm thinking about a Patty Jenkins Captain Marvel movie. Probably push Brie, acting wise.
Yeah, or they would have found someone besides Brie. I don't know.
Somebody the other day was like, I hate the Captain Marvel movie. I was like, I love the Captain Marvel movie, but I know somebody that has the same sentiment you do.
Well, and it's I don't know. I think I've seen Brie Larson in things that I really enjoy, but that was just not one of them. That just didn't seem to fit her for the character, or at least how they had her going. So again, maybe Patty Jenkins would get something different out of her and it'd be more enjoyable. So, because I don't know, I gotta be honest, hero or heroine, I'm so sick of the stoic type. But tell us what you think, though, as we get back to this.
I love the Captain Marvel movie. So you can probably find my review somewhere on here, because I blew up that movie.
I think we both did that one together. That was a pop flick.
I think we did, and I was just like, oh my God, and you were like, So,
with most things.
Tell us which movie would you see the most out of our picks? Who would you choose? What character, where would you go with these stories? So until next time, like and subscribe. Share with your grandma. Share with your grandpa. Share with the bum down at Walmart. I am KMB the Sexy Ninja.
I'm Doug.
Bye. Cut. Print.
Welcome to the wicked shit.